Once you look past some of the more obvious beat-em-ups on the Super Nintendo, like your Turtles in Time or the Final Fight series, you can still find some pretty good ones that probably aren't talked about as much, like we have here with Capcom's The King of Dragons, which we'll be taking a look at today. King of the Dragons was originally released in arcades in 1991, and ported to the Super Nintendo in 1994. It lets you pick from 5 different characters, all of which who play pretty similar, but with slightly different stats and upgrade paths. You can pick between an elf, wizard, warrior, cleric, and the dwarf. I like using the elf because he has the most range, but he will take more damage, so you can kind of see how this works. Cleric has a huge shield and a ton of life, but is very slow, so you can see how the rest will play out given their class. The commands are pretty straightforward. You can attack, block, and use magic. Your attacks have sort of a projectile that gets stronger as you level up. And the progression here is kind of unique in that you will find attack and defensive level ups inside chests, most of which are reward for defeating bosses, and then your score counts as experience points, so that's how you will increase your vitality. Which is great because your magic will take up a bit of your energy, but it's incredibly useful. In fact, it's one of the most useful desperation moves in most beat-em-ups. Most other games will have you do something like a spin attack, but it will only hit whoever is directly around you, and here it will clear most of the enemies off the screen, as well as do considerable damage to any boss, so it really makes that risk-reward factor worthwhile because of just how much damage you can do. You can also find magic inside chests throughout the levels in the form of orbs, which you can sort of bounce forward to carry with you as you go throughout the stage, so you can save it for the right situation. There are 16 levels, but most of them are incredibly short, and I mean incredibly short, like 30 seconds even. They end with a boss fight, and I will say the boss fights in this game are pretty good. Each boss, except for the few recycled ones, are unique and pretty easy to figure out their attack patterns. So often in these types of games, the bosses almost feel cheap or identical. They just end up being damage sponges, but have no different moves than regular enemies. They just have more health, or move so fast that you end up losing a few lives just trying to beat them. So the bosses here all have a different mechanic on when to attack, when to avoid, which does add some nice variety to them. The game looks and sounds great for a game of this era. It definitely has that arcade vibe with the big sprites and nice scrolling backgrounds. Even in moments like this boss fight, where the stage crumbles, is a nice touch. It's a nice set piece. But it would have been better if there was a bit more of this. I will say the characters' weapons and shields change throughout, which I always enjoy because it makes you feel stronger, getting a bigger sword, getting a bigger shield as you progress throughout the game. The soundtrack, another great one as well, composed by Yoko Shimomura, who did the soundtrack for Street Fighter II, so you know you have quality there. If you want to play this today, a cartridge version can be found on eBay for around $20, but you're probably better off playing it in one of the many Capcom arcade compilations. Most recently, though, the Capcom Beat 'em Up Collection, which is on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, etc. And that version is the arcade version, so slightly better graphics and sound than we have here on the Super Nintendo version. If you like this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button or check out our podcast on iTunes or come hang out on Twitch. We'll see you next time, and as always, thanks for watching.